2 and 10, net 60. 5 and 30, net 90. Sounds like I'm talking a foreign language, doesn't it? Well, it is kind of a little bit of a language. It's the language of finance and of trade credit. In this lecture, we're going to talk about some of the basics of what trade credit is. I want you to go away with the fundamentals of that because it will benefit you throughout your career in healthcare as a manager, a supervisor, a leader. You need to understand what that is. So we're going to talk a little bit about what trade credit is, and then I'm going to show you how to some basic tools for analyzing that I think that will be essential for you kind of going forward. All right, well, let's talk a little bit about what trade credit is. So throughout the operations of healthcare, imagine you as a manager, you're buying things. You're buying things from external vendors. You may be buying those things every week, such as those tongue depressors, those linens, the linen truck that comes up every week. It could be any of the kind of the consumable supplies that you're using on that weekly, daily basis. You are in most cases buying those from an external vendor. It could be a piece of equipment, for example, an ultrasound machine, or it could be, again, any kind of single purchase. Maybe not done all the time, maybe once every few years. But the sellers of these supplies and these equipments often offer you something called trade credit. And what it is a discount. They want to get paid. They want to get their money as quickly as possible. That's the whole thing about managing accounts receivable and accounts payable. You, the person who needs to get paid, if you're the vendor, you want your money and you want it as quickly as possible. You, as the buyer of said equipment, usually want to put that off as long as possible. Everybody wants to hold on to their money or get their money. They have a vested interest in keeping that. So we have this incentive called trade credit, which the seller, the vendor of, let's say, the ultrasound machine says, hey, I'll tell you what, I just sold you this $100,000 ultrasound machine, but if you pay me within, say, 30 days, I'm going to give you a 2% discount. Sounds great. It's kind of a win-win. They get their money, they're incentivizing you to pay them quickly, and you get a nice little chunk off of the price. So they kind of, again, is kind of a win-win for both individuals. And then they'll often have a date to which the bill is due. So they'll give you an incentive, let's say in the case of three, 3 and 30, net 90. What that will mean is I am going to give you a 3% discount within 30 days. You got 30 days to pay me. If you pass on that option, that's okay, but you owe me net, I mean, you owe me the full price in 90 days. You've got to pay me, otherwise then I'm calling my lawyers. So you've got to pay at that point. So you as a manager may decide, I want to take the discount. Sounds good to me. Or something, it makes more sense for me to stretch this out all the way and I'll pay it on the 90th day. You as a manager need to have an understanding of that. In general, most folks will take advantage of the trade discount, but there are some situations where you'll stretch that and push that payment all the way out as long as possible. In any case, it's still a win-win. The vendor gets paid, even if you go to that very last day that the bill is due. You forego the discount. They still get the money, but they get a higher dollar amount if you were to take part of that discount. So it's kind of a nice little mechanism out there. And you as a manager, you want to ask for that trade discount. If you're not asking for it, they may not offer it to you. So you want to ask for it. Anything that you're buying, ask them what their terms are. They usually will have them. Hopefully, they will bring them forward as part of the wonderful features and services to which doing business with them is. But if they know they kind of got you a little bit, again, ask for it. If you don't ask, you don't get, and you could save your institution some big bucks. Also, you might be comparing one vendor to another based on their terms. And then one last thing about terms of credit. of trade credit, often from the vendor's point of view. And you may be on the vendor side someday, but vendors, when they look at a someone who's buying a piece of equipment, they may require you to do a credit check. So imagine again selling a $100,000 piece of equipment to a new physician's practice, someone you really don't know, and you're offering them, let's say, 3 and 30, again, that'd be 3% discount in 30 days, net 90. They got 90 days to pay you. So you're out there that you've given them, they've taken delivery of that $100,000 piece of equipment, and 90 days goes by and boop, you get nothing. So that's when you get the lawyers and collection agents involved, and that's when the prices, the cost to you as a vendor absolutely skyrocket. Pretty much you're almost looking at that point when going to collections, you're looking at you getting pennies on the dollar back if you are lucky. So you really want to avoid that. So a lot of vendors will require the purchaser maybe to go through a background check. If it's a major health system, that may not be the case, but just be prepared for that. Sometimes the vendors will actually, behind the scenes, purchase trade credit insurance. So if you don't pay, they have some, again, because pretty much it's a loss at that point, that the insurance might come through with that. Most trade credit insurance agencies are going to require that some due diligence was done on the front end for you to qualify that purchaser. Okay, so there's a lot I just threw at you, but it goes on both ends because you may be on the vendor end. You might be working, and many of our students do kind of work on the vendor end. You may be out there, um, you know, selling healthcare supplies and offering terms of credit to employers, or you may be on the flip side as the person looking to purchase and wanting to really size up what the importance of that trade credit is. So best thing we can do here is kind of go through some examples to see how this really works. I talked about it a little bit, but let's run through some numbers so you can see kind of how to evaluate trade credit and how it looks. Let's the best way to do that, as always, is we're going to go to the magic blackboard.
Well, let's start off discussion by what it looks like when you see trade credit. So we'll walk through an example here where we're looking at, you'll see it written kind of like this. So it'll be, for example, 5/30, and then you'll see net 60. All right, so let's talk about what each one of these mean. This first number, 5, that's going to be the percent of your discount. How much you're going to get off. If it's $10,000, it's going to be 5% of that $10,000 that you'll receive off, in this case, $500, if, and here's the if you pay in 30 days. Okay, so that's the number of days. So this really isn't a fraction, it's just written with that slash in there. I guess they could have used a semicolon or a colon, I don't know. But this is the convention to which it is written. So the percentage of the discount up here first, and the number of days to which that discount is good. All right? Then with the second part is probably pretty easy. You probably already figured it out. This net 60 is when the bill is due. So you've got to pay at that point. After that, the 61st day, you're considered late, and that is when all the nastiness happens. Now, you could have this written. Someone could just say to you, net 90. That's it. Hey, I don't offer a discount. But you got 90 days to which you can keep your money, and you can hold on to basically my supplies and equipment before the bill is due. So know that it can kind of be written without, I guess, the trade discount on there, but you do have this net 90 is very important too, this net figure. So don't folks tend to focus on this part. What is the discount? Because it's exciting, But this part, the net, is also not as exciting, but just as important, especially when you're managing your accounts payable. How long you can put that off until that you can pay the bill. Now you might think, well, Chris, I've always been told, pay my bills, pay them timely, pay them quickly. In most cases, in a personal, personal finance, that's something that you want to do. Within the business realm, to be an efficient manager of your accounts that you have to pay out, you really want to push this out as long as possible. You want to send that bill out at pretty much the 12th hour, the final hour to get paid, and of course not to be late. Why is that? Well, imagine this. Imagine you're dealing with, not like in our personal lives, hundreds or thousands of dollars, that you're dealing with $10 million, okay, on a major piece of equipment, and it's net 90. If I can delay paying you 90 days on that $10 million that I have, I've got 90 days to do something with that $10 million. Maybe it's sitting in a bank. Maybe it's sitting in some sort of investment, hopefully one that doesn't have a lot of volatility, because you're going to need the money in 90 days. It has to be there. But even let's say it's making a few percentages annually, you're going to make some money. And on $10 million, that might be 15,000, of additional, interest that you can gain on the money that's in your pocket, if you will, or in working for you in other areas within your organization. So again, keep your money working for you as long as possible until you have to pay. And that's the name of the game. And don't worry, suppliers, vendors know this. When they build this into their trade credit agreements, they know that. So they know that you're probably going to pay on day 89 if you're going out that long. Okay? So don't be a sucker and pay on the 10th. If you don't have a discount and you're not taking advantage of it, don't pay on the 10th day. Hold your money, and hopefully you got, you're managing those accounts payable. Okay, so that's really how to interpret what trade credit looks like. Now let's walk through how to calculate the approximate cost of trade credit. Well, let's look at this approximate cost of trade credit. Now, the most confusing aspect of this is that it is generally expressed in something annualized. In order to help you kind of compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges, it's always the general convention, not always, but generally, is to kind of annualize things. So even though you may be thinking, hey, I'm just purchasing this ultrasound machine right now. It's a one-time purchase. I do this once every 3 to 5 years. It's not something that I do often. It doesn't seem to have an intuitive connection there, but it is a way to compare different trade credit offers. I think in most cases in your day-to-day existence as a healthcare manager, though, you're going to be looking at trade credit for these very frequent purchases. The supplies, the linens, the kind of the consumable equipment that you're just burning up and using throughout the course of operations. It makes more sense when it's tied into that. But just kind of know that as we're starting this discussion here on the approximate cost of trade credit, we're kind of focusing on annual terms. So you'll see that. I find this approach, for me, this is what works in understanding how this is annualized. So I'm going to show you kind of the Chris method for conceptualizing this. Then I'm going to show you the easy peasy lemon squeezy formula. If I was just to show you the formula first, it's hard to understand, at least in my opinion, how we got there. So let's kind of talk about it in more, I guess, real terms. So let's look at, we'll do an example here, and we'll just make up something. So we'll have, we'll do 5 and 30, and we'll kind of keep to our net 60. Okay, I think you guys know what that means. The first approach, well, let's say we're talking about we're buying a small piece of equipment. I don't know, maybe I'll make this up, an autoclave. That probably costs more than this, but you know, something to sanitize your various equipment that you're using in your operations. And let's say that autoclave is going to cost you $10,000. And the guy selling you it, you know, he says, "Hey, yeah, here are our terms of credit are this, our terms of trade credit are that." And you go, "Great, okay." So ask yourself then, what is the approximate cost of the trade credit? Here's again how I kind of walk through it theoretically. So what would be the amount of the discount? Okay, we got $10,000. We know that the discount is 5%, okay, on 10 grand. I think you guys are good enough to calculate that. And you know that's going to be $500. That's the amount of your discount. Okay. Next thing, let's look at, well, we're going to break down the days. And I'll kind of walk you through here. When is the bill due? Okay, the bill is due right up here in 60 days, right? So in 60 days, the bill is due. Kind of no matter what. That you don't want to necessarily go past. The next thing you want to look at is the period of the number of days to which the discount does not apply. You know when the bill is due. You know the number of days to which you have this nice little discount right up here, which is 30 days. Okay? So how many days within this obligation is the discount gone? Easy math, right? Subtract the two. There's 30 days to which you're going to have to pay basically the full amount. Okay? Now what you want to think about is, all right, I'm calculating the approximate cost of this trade. The amount that it's costing me to forego this wonderful offer they're giving me. And as I said earlier, you want to annualize this. So again, for comparison's sakes, it's just the standard is we analyze it. We annualize it. So to annualize it, and often in finance we give up a few days. We it's nice to use 360 days. So we're going to use that convention. We're going to assume there's 360 days in the year. So how many periods of 30-day increments would you be paying the full amount within a 360-day year? Again, our goal is to kind of annualize this number of this discount right here. So, whoops, I shouldn't scratch the dollar amount. 360, and how many 30-day periods are within that? So we do a little division, and we see there's 12 chunks of 30 days within a 360-day year. From there, it's pretty easy. We're just going to take our 12, periods to which the discount is lost, times the amount of the discount, and with that, we're going to get $6,000. So with 6,000, if you wanted to say what is the approximate cost of trade from a dollar perspective, roughly you're looking at 6,000. Again, this is something if it was annualized, something that was continued throughout a given year. You may be just doing a single purchase, or you may be doing this $10,000 purchase 12 times a year. Okay, so that is the amount of loss, of wonderful benefit you've given up, you've foregone that in order to, for whatever reasons, you decided to wait and pay it at the 60th day. And let me just show you one more number here. So what is the percentage of that? Well, 6,000, and we have our original cost of 10,000. What is that? Run the math real quick. That's going to be 0.60, or as you all know now, 60%. So the approximate cost of annualized trade in a percentage format is going to look like this. Okay? So again, think about it a couple ways. One, this could be a single purchase of like a machine, or you could be doing this over a period of years. Now, let me show you the easy way to calculate this 60%. Hopefully this kind of helped. As long as you think about it as how many periods in the year would I be not getting the discount? That's kind of, I guess, the meat and potatoes of this. And because there's a 30-day window right in here, I just got to figure out how many 30-day windows, or whatever that calculates to be, how many of those windows are in a given year, and just multiply that times the discount dollar amount. Kind of gives me this rough number right down in here. Okay, let's look at, again, the easy way. This is the way that you're going to want to solve problems, should they be posed to you on an exam, quiz, final, homework, etc. And I think you'll find it quick and easy for you. We'll stick with our example here, which was 5 in 30 and net 60. And the formula is this. We have the discount percentage with 100 minus the discount percentage times, and we'll stick to that 360-day year, 360 divided by the days of credit minus the discount period. This should kind of look familiar because we actually just calculated that chunk of time in the previous slide. But let's plug the numbers and work through this. So the discount percentage we already know. That's 5. And 100 minus 5 times 360 with 60. That's the days of credit. We're given 60 days of credit, 30 days of discount. You're still given credit because the bill isn't due immediately. So that's kind of nice. Think of it like a credit card. You've got, and in our credit cards, many of our credit cards, if you pay your bill in full, you have no interest charges, and that's really what this is. I guess it is an analogous to what we have in our personal lives. If I make a purchase on day one in my credit card billing cycle, and I pay that bill in full when I get it, that's my net. Usually they don't charge me interest, so at least a good credit card won't charge you interest during that time period. So you've lived that float on the credit card company. but the number of days in the discount is 60, or the number of days of credit, sorry, received is 60, and then minus, this is the number of days of credit, or of discount within that credit period is 30. So hopefully hopefully I didn't confuse you. Number of days of credit, number of days of discount. Okay, then crunch the math on that. You're going to get usually a decimal point in this first one, so kind of don't round too severely. And that's going to be 12. Well, look at that. What we got before, right? Do the math, and you are going to get 0.63 and some change, which turns out to be 63%. So conceptually, you can saw when we did the first slide, that one came to 60. I mean, we're pretty close. This is a little bit more accurate way of doing that. So there you go. That is how to calculate the approximate cost of trade credit. Again, remember that is an annualized figure. Okay, so what we've learned here today is we've learned what this whole jargon means. We've learned about this, how to interpret that. If you go away with that, that's a win. I want you to know you're going to see that in your professional career. And I don't want you to say, huh, I was never taught that. You know what that means. You know what the numbers are. Even if you knew that, I think you could make a very intelligent analysis on the value of that trade credit offered to you by a vendor, supplier, etc., and you could make a wise business decision. If you want to break it down even further, you now can calculate the approximate cost of that trade credit either by a dollar amount or a true percentage, a dollar amount annually, roughly, you know, when we came up with that, I believe, $6,000 in that previous slide. Or you can calculate, you know, we like to deal with percentages in finance. You can actually come out with that actual percentage value annualized. So you got some pretty good skills here. All right, now here's what I would like to do. If you've been able to watch this entire lecture, here comes your reward. This week we have an assignment in the learning activity. I'm going to offer you some extra credit. This will be the last extra credit opportunity within the course. So one of the with the learning activity, we have question on there, question 6.3. What I'd like you to look at, it asks you when does ask you some basic questions in sections in A and B. What I would like you to calculate, okay, is I would like you to calculate just the simple, not the annualized. I don't want the annualized version. I just want you to tell me. I want you to, like in this case, when we did the $10,000, okay, what is the amount of the discount? Okay, 5%, right? $500. Okay, whoops, $500. Okay, I want you to calculate what the percent, what the dollar amount, sorry, I want you to calculate the dollar amount of just the raw discount on that problem in 6.3 if you were buying a $50,000 autoclave machine. Just give me the dollar amount, okay? I will have a drop box for that located in the course news. Just simply show me a couple numbers, how you calculated it in a Word document, and bold the answer for me. And that one will be worth, hopefully, an easy 10 points. All right, there you go. Hope you learned something today about trade credit.